How's everybody doing? Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Please let me know in the comments what city you're watching from, what country, what state, what galaxy. Let me shout you guys out. So I wanted to talk about this thing because yeah, too many people who don't know what they're talking about it. But what's different? I mean, you know, how's that different from the usual stuff? All right, well, look at it. Here we've got people tuning in from Russia, from Germany, from Bavaria, from Stockholm, Los Angeles, from Canada, from New York City, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Ireland, Russia, Lebanon, Australia, Canada, London, Pluto, very funny, Sheffield, Mexico, New York City, Colorado, Warsaw, Minnesota, Sydney, and the world. And it goes on, and the world goes on and on. No, this is really good. I'm happy to have you guys, and let's it's still going. It's actually too fast for me to read. Please just make sure you've hit the like button. I know I hate these typical YouTube phrases, but I have to do it because, you know, this is politics. The algorithm suppresses it more than, you know, if you're doing cooking or gaming or stuff like that. So, you know, we have to try and pump up the videos. Look, there it is. It's going up. We've got 600 people watching. Only 200 likes. There are 400 of you that have not hit the thumbs up, the like button. So please make sure you do. I'm going to start imposing this like labor conditions. I refuse to begin until we have 600 likes. No, seriously though. It's not a bad strategy. Anyway, let's go. Come on. I'm going to try and break this down for you as simply as possible. Okay, hold on. I'm just getting the stuff ready here. Okay, can you guys see that? I think you should be able to see that. Yeah, all right, we're good to go. Yalla, yalla. So is there a coup happening in Russia? Let me try and explain this to you and break it down as simply as possible. As I said, there are too many people talking about this who have no idea what they're talking about. So basically, this whole issue revolves around Prigozhin, okay? So this guy's quite the character, shall we say, right? Because he basically started his business in catering, and he then ended up creating and heading Wagner PMC, which is basically it's a mercenary group, right? And they've played a huge role. I mean, you'll see them everywhere, honestly, in Africa and the Middle East, right? Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but definitely in Ukraine, like Bakhmut, you know, this longest battle of the whole Ukraine war. He's the one who just took in this most decisive victory, right? So what is he doing now? You know, why are people talking about a coup? Can you talk about a coup, you know, in Russia right now? I mean, no. I mean, it sounds quite ridiculous. You don't just walk in and coup Vladimir Putin. So what is going on? Okay, so Prigozhin, he basically, as it says in The Guardian, he put out an explosive 30-minute video on his Telegram channel where he dismissed Moscow's claims that Kiev was planning to launch an offensive on the Russian-controlled territories in eastern Ukraine in February 2022. Okay, so he's basically saying that one of the reasons for the war was a lie. So he's basically calling Vladimir Putin a liar. Let me play this video and then we'll continue.
После 2014 года, с 2014 по 2022 год, Донбасс весь распиливался. Донбасс разворовывался различными людьми. Часть из них были из администрации президента, часть из ФСБ, часть привлеченные олигархи, такие как Курченко. Это люди, которые воровали деньги у жителей Донбасса, которые находились в непризнанных республиках ЛНР и ДНР. В этом ЛНР и ДНР существовали корпуса народной милиции, которые в случае нападения украинцев должны были дать достойный отпор. Однако эти корпуса не существовали по факту, было минимальное количество бойцов и определенное количество генералов просто распиливали эти деньги. При зарплате в 40 тысяч 20 тысяч оставлялось в кассе, 20 тысяч давалось тому, кто подписывает, если боец существовал и сидит дома, подготовка не велась, А мертвые души просто получали эти деньги, генералы получали за мертвые души эти деньги, и бюджеты пилились. Донбасс был прекрасным местом, где распиливались деньги, как сотрудниками администрации президента. Сначала это был Сурков, потом был Казак. В ФСБ тоже была абсолютно понятная иерархия генералов. Теперь по тому, почему началась спецоперация. Украинцы имели группировку, которая находилась по границам с территорией Донбасса, как раз ту, которую мы проламывали от Попасной до Артемовска. Эта группировка состояла из различных добровольных, скажем так, националистических формирований, а также состояла из действующей армии ВСУ. Эта группировка обменивалась выстрелами. Мы били по ним, они били по нам. И это происходило все эти долгие 8 лет, с 14 по 22. Иногда нарастало количество различных перестрелок, грубо говоря, обмена боеприпасами, обменом выстрелами, иногда уменьшалось. На 24 февраля ничего сверхординарного не было. Сейчас уже...
Right, so he was explaining the background, and now he gets to the point of 24th February 2022. Listen.
Министерство обороны пытается обмануть общественность, пытается обмануть президента и рассказать историю о том, что со стороны Украины была безумная агрессия, и они собирались вместе со всем блоком НАТО на нас напасть.
Right, so, I mean, look, guys, as I've said before, whatever you think about Ukraine, you like Putin, you don't like Putin, you like Prigozhin, you don't like Prigozhin. This is irrelevant, because geopolitics and the balance of power, it's not something you can just have an opinion on, right? This is so he's talking about the fact that, you know, Russia went into Ukraine because it's linked to some lie about it. It's got nothing to do with that. This goes back many years, even before anyone ever heard of Putin himself. The Russians are sitting across the table from the Americans, telling them, "Get your NATO away from us. Please get NATO away from us. Are you going to get NATO away from us? Oh no, you're not. Now the whole Poland's in NATO." You know, so I don't know why he's trying to make it out to be about this, but it's a long video, so I've just picked out some of the most important parts. Here's another one for you.
Нужна война.
Why was the war needed?
Война нужна была для того, чтобы...
The war was needed so that a handful of scumbags could have a blast and get PR attention showing how strong the army is.
Она была нужна ради...
The war was needed not in order to return Russian citizens to our bosom, and not in order to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
Психически больной.
It was needed for one star with additional embroidery, so that one mentally sick man could look good on a coffin pillow.
Шойгу.
Right, so I was just about to say, he's talking about Shoigu. Just one more second.
Shoigu lives by the principle that a lie must be horrific for people to believe it.
So Shoigu is the defense minister, right? And he's basically saying, what Prigozhin is saying is that basically the defense minister wanted this war so he could have some more accolades and trophies.
That's when the lies come.
I mean, once again, this is like nothing new from what we've been hearing before. You have to understand that that Prigozhin here, this guy, he's been dissing, he's been lambasting and just, you know, ripping the top brass to shreds for the last couple of months, right? He says that the Russian generals are not sending us ammunition, they're not helping us, they are traitors, etc., etc. Okay, so let me play this clip. This is from a month ago. Take a look.
Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы? Посмотрите на них,
Yeah, so he was on the front line in Bakhmut, and then he wins this. I mean, you know, whether the Ukrainians and NATO want to admit that Bakhmut is strategic and important or not, it doesn't change the fact that you can quantify on a timeline that Bakhmut was the longest battle in this war, right? Or should we say in this latest chapter of the war, since February 24th, 2022. So, and the fact is Wagner won that battle. So, you know, he doesn't just have a loud mouth. He actually, you know, gives them results. But now here's what's going on, because he's now accusing this Prigozhin. He's accusing the Kremlin of having launched missiles at Wagner. Okay, so he's accusing them of friendly fire, although this is not friendly fire, because usually friendly fire means by mistake. He says it's on purpose. Okay, so in Reuters, you know, they talk about this video, which I'll show you in a second. And the caption says that a missile, quote, a missile attack was launched on the camps of Wagner PMC. Many victims. According to eyewitnesses, the strike was delivered from the rear. That is, it was delivered by the military of the Russian Ministry of Defense. This is the video. I mean, you can't really see much, honestly. So, whether it's, I mean, look, it's a bunch of tables. They're like some broken trees. I really don't know what to believe, because you guys have to understand, the last couple of hours, nothing but wild information on the internet. And you have to go and verify everything, of course, as usual. So, you got to be careful what you believe, right? But this is the video they released, and I mean, I don't know, this doesn't look like a missile strike to me. And also, it doesn't really prove the Russian Defense Ministry did it. So, I mean, this is the gist of it, right? And then he goes further. He goes further. We're not done. We're not done. So, Prigozhin was saying here, he said that, quote, those who destroyed our lads, who destroyed the lives of many tens of thousands of Russian soldiers, will be punished. I ask that no one offer resistance. There are 25,000 of us, and we are going to figure out why chaos is happening in the country. He issued a new statement at, this is 11, well, again, it's about 2 hours ago, okay? I'm calculating multiple times zones, 2 hours ago. Saying his forces, so Prigozhin issues a new statement saying his forces had crossed the border from Ukraine and were in the southern Russian city of Rostov. And he said that they're ready to go all the way against the top brass and destroy anyone who stands in their way. I mean, it sounds fantastic, right? Like from a fantasy. I also don't understand what he's saying. I mean, how the hell is he going to go all the way from Rostov to Moscow without any, you know, any obstacles or people trying to stop him? That's the first issue. And number two, you know, Wagner rely on the Russian Ministry of Defense for logistical support. Where do you think where do you think they get all their ammo? Why do you think Prigozhin is standing there saying, "Where is the goddamn ammo?" I'm putting it more diplomatically than he did, right? Because they need that. They need the Ministry of Defense. So, I mean, you're bound to run out of this stuff at one point. Yes. I just don't see from a logistical viewpoint. And anybody, you know, you can ask anybody from any army in the world, and they will tell you what's the number one thing in the military. It's logistics. When you screw up logistics, everything, it's like a dominoes, everything gets screwed up, right? So how do you solve this problem? Now the plot thickens. I'm not done. Now, I mean, you might be thinking like, well, this can't be real, right? Like, this guy is basically saying he wants to go to war with the Ministry of Defense. Keep in mind, not once does he mention Putin. Or direct his comments to Putin or imply anything bad about Putin. You understand that, right? You realize that. I'm not just talking about today. I'm talking about all the bulk of Prigozhin's videos, because he understands that there's no way on earth he's gonna go head to head with Putin. I mean, again, as I said at the beginning, one does not simply, walk into Moscow and coup Putin. It just, you're out of your mind. Even Shoigu is already kind of a stretch, right? Because he is the defense minister. So you have to understand that this guy is actually an officer, and not only that, he's literally the top brass that Prigozhin is referring to. As I said before, Prigozhin, this guy has never been in the army, right? He's not even a sergeant. He's not even a non-commissioned officer. Never mind an officer or a general. He has no rank in the military, none. And he's trying to go head to head with Shoigu. This is a power struggle. This is a power struggle. Why do you think I asked Scott Ritter about this yesterday when we were doing the show? Because there's a power struggle going on, right? Not between Putin and Prigozhin, but Prigozhin and Shoigu. Let me show you this now. This is the reaction. Are you ready? Now, the FSB, Domestic Security Service, have opened a criminal case against Prigozhin for calling for an armed mutiny, a crime that is punishable with a jail term of up to 20 years. Prigozhin's already been in prison once, so I don't think he'd be too pleased about this. But this is what they said. So the FSB said that, quote, Prigozhin's statements are in fact calls for the start of an armed civil conflict on Russian territory, and his actions are a stab in the back to Russian servicemen fighting pro-fascist Ukrainian forces. We urge the fighters not to make the irreparable mistakes, to stop any forcible actions against the Russian people, not to carry out the criminal and treacherous orders of Prigozhin, to take measures to detain him. So they're quoting TASS, which is but one of the official Russian news sources. So here's their Telegram post where they're saying this. And again, I'm just translating this particular post. It says, statements of Prigozhin, founder of Wagner PMC, became the basis for a criminal case because he called for armed insurgency. This is from the National Anti-Terrorism Committee. So just again, to summarize this, and I'm not even done, but just so you can wrap your heads around this. Prigozhin, this guy, just a few weeks ago, he won the longest battle in this war for Russia. And now, in the span of a few hours, just figuratively speaking, he's gone from being, a hero to now being a suspect in a criminal case. And where they're accusing him of calling for mutiny. Mutiny is when you rebel against a commanding officer or in this case I suppose it's Shoigu, but I can understand why the Russian FSB look at his comments as such. Yes, I can certainly understand. Here, let me show you this video here. This is from hold on. Let me pull this up for you. So I want to show you now, this is a Russian general, okay? His name is Alexiev. So Army Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexiev. He issued a video appeal where he's appealing to Prigozhin, don't do this, right? To Prigozhin, don't do this. Look, here it is.
I have just arrived from the front line, by order of the leadership of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation.
He's basically saying, I came all the way down to film this because of you, so get your act together.
Where are our troops, our commanders, our soldiers, our fighters? Volunteers perform the task of fighting the enemy to the death with superior enemy forces. They suffer losses, but stand on their positions. I appeal to the leadership, commanders and fighters of the Wagner PMC. Together with you, we have passed a difficult path. We fought together with you, took risks, suffered losses, we won together, we are one blood for wars. I urge you to stop. The enemy is just waiting for our domestic political situation to worsen. You cannot play into the hands of the enemy in these difficult times for the country. Before it is too late, and it is necessary to do it. This is to obey the will and order of the popularly elected President of the Russian Federation to stop the columns, return their points along the stand of Sarkaz and the Sredochin region. Solve all problems only by peaceful means under the leadership of the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation.
To be continued.
Right. So, okay. So that was the gist of it, right? And this is the thing. You heard what this guy's saying. He's saying that you're playing into the hands of the Ukrainians, essentially. I mean, if you're if you're Zelensky right now, or you're somebody from his cabinet, or you're in the Ukrainian military, you're partying, because this is exactly what you want. You want division, you want distrust, you want chaos in your enemy's camp. Not on your part, but necessarily, but especially if it actually comes genuinely from within. This is a gift from heaven, right? Because they're doing your work for you, basically. And I mean, we are assuming that this is, that Ukraine has nothing to do with this, because you have to understand something. These are public statements. Not everything that happens in these circles, in the military, in intelligence, takes place with PR press releases. As a matter of fact, the bulk of it doesn't happen in public, right? So, let's consider multiple scenarios, okay? But I wanted to address this idea of a coup mostly in a moment. But look at the possible scenarios. Number one, it could be a PSYOP, right? A PSYOP is a term for psychological operation, right? It's an abbreviation for psychological operation. This could, I mean, you have 100 different varieties, millions of varieties of things you can do. In the Vietnam War, the Americans would blast loud music or sounds of ghosts, quote unquote, of to scare the enemy, or I'm just giving you different examples, or it could be some bot campaign on Twitter. But something serious and sophisticated. This could either be from the Ukrainian side or the Russian side. The Russians might be launching an operation, and to take attention away from this military operation, whatever it is, in whatever part of Ukraine now, they're starting this nonsense, or amplifying this so-called beef or hatred you have between Prigozhin and the defense ministry, to distract the Ukrainians and the rest of the world. This is one idea. We're speculating here, right? It doesn't mean that it is true. It means that it could be true. Another thing here, it could be the opposite. The Russians are taking heavy losses, and to avoid talking about them, they cook this up, right? This is also another hypothetical explanation or possibility. The other thing is that going back to this hatred that Prigozhin has for the defense ministry, right? You guys need to understand something very important. The defense ministry, and Putin reiterated this, so Putin said it himself, they want Prigozhin, Wagner, to sign contracts agreeing that they will be integrated into the Russian armed forces. Do you understand? And I told you guys this during the last couple of live streams, that this is going to create tension, because Wagner, Prigozhin, they enjoy the status of having logistical support from the Russian military, of having political support from the Kremlin, but being outside of that to a certain extent. What does that mean? That means Prigozhin can go on camera and start yelling at Shoigu without really getting into trouble. But now the situation has changed, because now he's gone a bit too far. He's gone too far. Because when the FSB are opening a criminal investigation against you, I mean, Jesus, it's not really, it's not looking good, is it? And this is, already a few days ago, Prigozhin was saying, "Screw you! I'm not signing these contracts." He wants to enjoy his status of being, you know, the head of a military group that is outside of the Russian armed forces. And you know, this is from CNN. You can see here, when was this published? This was published June 11th, right? So about a week and a half ago, they said Prigozhin said that he will not sign the contracts with Russia's defense ministry, he said that the orders and decrees issued by Defense Minister Shoigu apply to employees of the Ministry of Defense and military personnel. PMC Wagner will not sign any contracts with Shoigu. So what's happening right now, this could be, I mean, you know, this could be the result of having these contracts forced on them. Who knows? I'm absolutely, you know, inclined to tell you that it's one of the reasons. If you're Prigozhin, the last thing on earth you want is a goddamn contract that fires you. Prigozhin will not be needed anymore. He will be nothing if his soldiers sign a contract and are put in the Russian military. Then he's out of a job. Do you understand? So from a political and a financial point of view, he has no incentive. This is the last thing on earth. He has no incentive to sign these contracts. So this is definitely one of the reasons for what's going on. And you know, I was telling you guys that this reminds me of Sudan. Look at the videos that I did in Sudan. Please go watch them, right? Because you'll go on CNN. God forbid you go on CNN, but you'll hear in mainstream media and even, you know, a lot of independent or alternative media, they'll you know, they either won't mention Sudan, or when they do it, they don't know what they're talking about. Sudan is an Arabic country and an African country, you know, so I'm lucky to understand the media, to go through it, to understand the reports. And this situation it's already gone back a few years, but now, you know, it exploded. And what you have in Sudan is very similar, because you have the head of the armed forces, right? So his name is Burhan, okay? He's the head of the official Sudanese armed forces, and he's at war now with Dagalo. And our friend Dagalo, besides having a really cool name, Dagalo is the head of the rapid support forces, right? Quwat al-Da'am al-Sari'a. So the RSF for short, these were created in 2013 by the president. Back then it was Bashir, right? Who's gone. That's another story. But they were never really fully integrated into the armed forces, kind of like Wagner is right now in Russia, right? Here's another element that Dagalo and Prigozhin have in common. They are businessmen. Prigozhin came from catering. He's a businessman, right? Because of his money and his status, he was able to then get into war. I mean, war is a racket. There's a reason we have that phrase in English, right? When it comes to Dagalo, you know, Dagalo is a very rich businessman. He's into mining. I mean, everyone is really into mining, especially now with Sudan having tons of gold and stuff. But this guy's, you know, I don't know what the estimate of his wealth is, but it's easily in the hundreds of millions, if not billions, right? So you have this conflict now, because there's no one to rein them in. Now in Russia is different. Russia has not just any president. It is Putin. You know, you like Putin or you don't like Putin. This guy, I don't need to, it goes without saying, he has weight, right? And keep in mind, maybe it's because it's, you know, a bit late into the night, but you see Putin hasn't even said anything. Putin hasn't even said anything. He's like, you know, you're going to sign these contracts whether you like it or not, or I will get rid of you. And yesterday I was talking with Scott Ritter, and I asked him about the situation. And hold on, let me pull up the video. I thought I had this a second ago, and you can see what he said about this power struggle, if you will. Yeah. All right, just a second. All right, well, it doesn't matter. We'll drop it in afterwards. Anyway, going back to my point, Russia, you have to understand something. Russia is not a military country like Pakistan, right? Pakistan is an amazing country. I was privileged and to live there for a couple of years when I was a kid. Pakistan is a military country. Egypt is another military country. What do I mean when I say military country? Well, in Pakistan, let me put it this way. No prime minister in Pakistan has ever been able to complete their term. Ever. For one reason or another, they either get assassinated, couped, like Imran Khan was recent, etc. That's what I mean. If you are the prime minister of Pakistan, yes, you are democratically elected, but you need, whether you like it or not, you must have the support of the military and, by the way, the intelligence in Pakistan, which are also very powerful. Egypt, you guys remember who is Egypt's most famous president? Abdel Nasser, right? So that was 1952. You had an officer's coup in Egypt, right? 1969, Gaddafi in Libya, also an officer's coup. Why am I pointing this out? Because these countries, these leaders were officers. They were men who had rank in the armed forces of that country. Okay, they're not heads of a paramilitary group or businessmen who kind of got into it. No. We are talking about officers. So they have legitimacy. They have the legitimacy of the soldiers and the people. When we talk about Prigozhin, as I said, he's not an enlisted man. He's neither an NCO nor an officer. So as much as the victory in Bakhmut looks good on his resume, right? He doesn't have this sort of legitimacy. However, you do have a very good chunk of Russian soldiers. So I'm not talking about Wagner. I'm talking about Russian armed forces who do support Wagner, right? From a political point of view, from like, oh, these are our brothers, etc. They're fighting in the same war with us, etc. Right? So and they're literally our compatriots, right? Like so for the Russian soldiers, these guys are also kind of Russian soldiers, right? They're from Wagner, but they're still from the same country, and so on. So they have some support in the Russian military, but Prigozhin doesn't have this legitimacy and pull that you need from the people and from the military to get away with whatever coup people are blabbing about on social media or some crap, and when it comes to the people, I'm sorry, man, Shoigu, you can rail as much as you want about Shoigu and call him as incompetent and stupid as you want, but Shoigu is not the leader of the country. It's Putin. Putin appointed Shoigu. I don't understand what he's, what does Prigozhin think? He's going to grab Shoigu's job and then Putin? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that this is his plan, but people like, they're kind of, saying that, oh, he just wants to coup the country and so on. With what army? This guy has what? 25,000, 30,000, even let's say 50,000 troops. These Russians are not going to fight against other Russians, especially when the Russian armed forces we're talking about hundreds of thousands of troops. So I don't know how people just come up with these like mad scenarios, like I said, at best, or rather at worst, you for Russia, internally, you have a power struggle between Shoigu and Prigozhin at best, not Putin. This is a joke. You don't power struggle with Putin. And the other thing that I want to say with with support of the people, once again, how do you get support of the people, especially in this day and age? You need presence not only on the media, on legacy media, television, radio, and print, but also on social media. Yeah, maybe Wagner and Prigozhin have a lot of followers online, but they don't. Again, who are you competing with? Shoigu is like a non-figure. I mean, and Putin, forget about it. So there you go. Let me just show you this. Hold on. Let me show you the clip with Scott Ritter that I told you I wanted to pull up. Here's the timestamp. There you go.
I think a lot of what Prigozhin was doing during the actual battle was part of a psychological warfare operation against the Ukrainians to create the perception of disunity, disharmony, weakness, so that the Ukrainians wouldn't withdraw from Bakhmut, but double down on stupid and say, we have a chance to win. All we have to do is push and Wagner will collapse because they have this dysfunction. But I think the source of the dysfunction is real. I think there's real dissatisfaction between elements of Wagner and the Russian Ministry of Defense. Wagner was created as a unique contracting vehicle to provide military expertise to the militias of the Donbass and Donetsk and Lugansk at a time when the territory was Ukrainian, and Russia is constitutionally prohibited from providing military forces. They can't deploy the regular Russian army onto Ukrainian soil. So Wagner was created. People call it a mercenary outfit. It's not a mercenary outfit. Mercenaries don't die for their country. Mercenaries fight for money.
Right.
And purpose of mercenaries are to live and go spend that money. Wagner is composed of 100% Russian patriots, people who are ready to lay their lives down for their country, but they operate on a different contractual basis than the regular army because legally that's what has to happen. But one thing that has happened is that now that Lugansk and Donetsk have been absorbed by Russia and now Russian territories, and now that Russia has had a chance to harmonize Russian legal structures with those two territories, Wagner no longer operates within the framework of the Russian Constitution or Russian law. You can't be a private military contractor. Now, what complicates this further is the fact that the private military contractor is just a contractual subterfuge. Wagner, I believe, works for Russian military intelligence, the GRU, and takes its orders from the Russian general staff. It's a specialized combat unit for specialized tasks and purposes. And I do believe that if Wagner is going to continue to operate on Russian soil, that there will have to be a legal normalization of Wagner. But you want to do this in a manner that doesn't compromise that which makes Wagner special. And that is, of course, its unique command structure, very streamlined command procedures, and the esprit de corps that comes with having a military system that's based upon a meritocracy where the most qualified people rise to the top and competence is treasured overall. And that's why Wagner's not in the front lines right now, because Wagner has until August, I think August 5th is when Prigozhin said they'll be reintroduced, to get their act together. And if they don't, I don't think Wagner will be reintroduced. I don't see Wagner, Prigozhin isn't going to get his way. That's the bottom line. Either Wagner is an institution or each individual member of Wagner will be compelled to enter into a legally binding relationship with the Russian government that is consistent with the Constitution of Russia. This is an absolute prerequisite, and it will happen because the Russian military understands that Wagner is a unique asset that is, well positioned to provide lethal battlefield support. It's a force multiplier, and there are going to be future battles in well-defined.
Well, there you go. I mean, Scott really put it perfectly. Just before I continue, I see we've got 2,700 people watching. We only have 900 likes, so the majority of you haven't pressed the thumbs up button, the like button. I hate doing these crap YouTube phrases, but I really do need your support. So please hit the like button because we're doing politics. The algorithm tries to suppress it. Anyway, going back to what Scott said, you noticed that he and we don't refer to Wagner as a mercenary group because they want you to think like the legacy media, the mainstream media, They talk about Wagner being mercenary and this and that, and say, oh, Wagner are in Africa. Excuse you. What about Blackwater? What about Blackwater? You know, Trump pardoned those people who massacred a bunch of civilians in Iraq, and you know they're just running around killing people all over the place and getting paid to do it with these military contracts. You know, this is incomparable to Wagner. The thing is that Wagner, like Scott just said, they're fighting, you know, alongside the Russian army, so they're going to view each other as brothers. So between the Russian soldiers and those in Wagner, they're all Russian soldiers. Do you understand? That is how they view each other. So yeah, it's logical that you're going to have people in the Russian army that support Wagner, people in the Russian population that support Wagner. But Wagner, you know, in no way is equivalent to a mercenary group or Blackwater or something like that. You know, even if you dislike Russia and you dislike the Wagner and all this, it's just, they're, you know, apples and oranges. And the thing is that, you know, Scott said that maybe this idea of distrust, this image of distrust between Wagner, between Prigozhin, shall we say, and Shoigu, maybe it's been fermented on purpose in order, you know, as a psyop against the Ukrainians, to give them the impression that, look, Bakhmut, Wagner and Prigozhin are in Bakhmut. They're not getting logistical support. They're not getting ammo, right? Because Prigozhin is yelling at Shoigu, send me ammo. That's where we need to attack. I tried to explain it as simply as possible, right? But he's right. That's one form of a psyop. And then another funny idea I saw floated is this is a hypothetical. Remember, we're speculating here. This is just hypothetical. Maybe Putin is trying to get rid of Shoigu, but he doesn't want to do it directly, so he's trying to do it through Prigozhin. I mean, yeah, it's a far-fetched one, but on this earth, anything is possible. If we're, you know, honestly speaking, the FSB case being opened against Prigozhin, big problem. You know, I'm sure they'll be able to hash it out, but they better do it soon. And let me just remind you that, you know, whoever thinks, whether these are idiots online or whether it's Prigozhin himself who maybe has these ambitions, I don't know. I have no idea. But just I'm drawing from his words, which I presented to you, and all the evidence that we have, all of the articles and quotes and videos. If you really think that Prigozhin can coup the Kremlin, right? Because forget Shoigu, we're talking about Putin here. I mean, we're not even going to entertain this. I'm sorry, because it's so crazy. It doesn't even dignify. You know, it's not even worth a response, and I will not dignify it with one. But I just want to remind you: think of Pakistan, think of Egypt, Libya. You know, all these places where you have officers, generals becoming presidents. You must have the support of the people and the army. You have to be in the army, an enlisted man or an officer, you know, to have legitimacy. Prigozhin, I'm sorry, he just doesn't have the clout, as we say nowadays, apparently, young people. Clout. He doesn't have the clout, the pull. He doesn't have the presence in the military, nor with the people to do it. With that said, you know, people in Russia, I'm sure, still appreciate Wagner and understand its importance. But now we're coming to a point where this is getting out of control, and I think the contracts were the real issue, as we already went through. I think that's the real issue. You know, I just want to finish. I just want to close by saying there's a phrase in Arabic, and I'll translate it for you. Right? What was that again? أنا وأخي على ابن عمي أنا وأخي وابن عمي على الغريب. I think that was it. Right? So me and my brother against my cousin. Me and my brother and my cousin against the world. Okay, so right now, what's smart and what's good for Prigozhin to do is if he's really that upset with these guys, he needs to put his grievances aside and come together, because this is exactly what Ukraine wants. This is exactly what NATO wants. And I'm speaking if this is really, on the condition that this is not a psyop, right? So I'm saying if this is really legitimate, everything that we're seeing, that it's not a joke, and he's really going up there with troops, he needs to put this aside, because people in NATO and Washington and Whitehall, this is their dreams come true, disunity inside the Russian ranks, mutiny, right? Chaos. That's what they want. That's what they want. Don't give them what they want. You can win this battle against NATO, this war rather, and then hash out your grievances later, right? Because this is you're only gonna help the enemy this way, and no one wants a NATO victory given what NATO did in Libya and Syria and Afghanistan. I'm not going to go through the whole list again. Yugoslavia, just suffering, and don't give them an easy hand. Don't give them an easy hand. Thank you, Crazy Puppet. We've got a good. Hold on, just let me just stop 1 second. All right, 1 sec. Divide and conquer, right? That's what they want. Divide and conquer. They want Russia to be divided so that they can surround it, encircle it, and cause the collapse of the political establishment, the military establishment, and there will be no Wagner, right? If you think that the idea of this, Wagner column or whatever, if this is true, if going up to Moscow and all this, if you think this is a good idea, there won't be Shoigu, there won't be Putin, there won't be Wagner, there won't be anything standing up to NATO. And the only reason they hate Russia is because the Russians were the only ones who ever stood up to NATO and socked them in the jaw, okay? Divide and conquer. Don't give it to them. Don't let them have it. So thank you guys very much for the generous donations. Thank you to Dullap for joining as a supporter. Crazy Puppet says Zelensky, the peace duke. Phonetically, it means phonetically in Russian it means Zelensky. Pizdyuk, little. I think I know pizdat. Somebody taught me insults in Russian, and I don't know what they really mean. So if I don't want to go too far with this, is pizdat one of them? Well, in this case, the Crazy Puppet is teaching me pizdyuk. Excuse me if that was too profane. All right, thank you very much, Crazy Puppet. Thank you for the donation as well. Crazy Puppet is telling you guys, support or just be smart, vegetable. No, seriously, guys, if you found my videos informative, if you like the interviews I do, if you like my segments, please remember, this is independent media. Only, there are no ads or like corporate sponsors. It's only you. It's you guys. So I depend entirely on your support. So please consider donating if you can. I don't do deluxe content or special content. I don't believe in that crap. For me, I do everything. I do my job. I do my work. I publish all of it. And if you can support, I'm grateful. No matter how little or how great the amount or the frequency, I'm grateful either way. So thank you so much. Claudia is very kind. She's been pasting the links in the chat. There's PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Bitcoin, a million things, and of course here on YouTube. So that's very very kind of you guys to send in donations there. Let me just check on Patreon if we got a new supporter. Every time somebody new on Patreon joins, what do? I play a crab dance. So just tell me in the comments, guys, where are you joining in from? Where are you watching from? Because when I started, there weren't as many of you in the chat yet. So tell me right now where you're tuning in from. I'm going to read some of your comments. DS says Prigozhin is a traitor. Arafat Nakuma says you do it very well, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. We have... Hold on, I'm reading more of your comments on Prigozhin. But look, it's exploding. We got people watching from Toronto, Houston, India, Australia, Georgia, the Netherlands, Uganda, Northern California, Kansas, San Francisco, Holland, South Africa, Cuba, Vancouver, Phoenix, Toronto, and now it's going too fast. I can't read it. Los Angeles, Finland, Canada, Paris, Spain, Peru, Sweden, India, California, Morocco, Chicago, Stockholm, Turkey, Mars, Oslo, Peru, Uganda, Turkey, the Pentagon, Italy, Spain, Serbia, Cleveland, Vienna. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you guys so much. It's so good to have such a huge audience. Hey, David Kennedy, thank you for the super chat. Look at what David said. This is something that I wanted to point out. Thank you, David, for this super chat. So David says, where is a single video of Wagner hauling ass to Moscow en masse? I love that it rhymes, and you used Southern dialect with French in an English sentence. You're right. This is so obvious, and I'm mad at myself because I wanted to make this point earlier. It's such an obvious point. If Wagner is really going to Moscow, where's the goddamn video? You know, if I were Prigozhin, I'm not going to sit down and do a 30-minute video. I'm taking a selfie on a tank. You know, right? Actions speak louder than words. A picture is worth 1,000 words, etc., etc., etc. So exactly, where's the single video? You know, again, I'm very, very, very skeptical about all this. GeoAnime Diplomacy says, thanks for the update. Watching from the USA. Well, I appreciate that very much, and you're most welcome. This is a big topic. I knew I had to go live. And by the way, before I forget, make sure you guys, I hate these YouTube cliche phrases, but we got to say them. The bell icon, hit it, click on it, so when I go live, you get notified. And if you prefer email, some people don't like app notifications or whatever, and they want to get it from email. Go to richardmedhurst.substack.com. I'm typing the link in the chat. You literally just put in your email in a box and you hit subscribe. And I don't spam people with crappy newsletters or ads. All you get is a link when I go live, period. That's it. That simple. Crazy Puppet says, based Prigozhin earlier acts, I do hope it aligns with his use of media to mislead enemies. Well, look, you know, Crazy Puppet, if, you know, going back to this and what Scott said, he's very good at it. You know, if this is a psyop, and again, I think most people get the impression that it is, and you know, Scott worked in intelligence, so he would have an idea of what Prigozhin's doing and so on. Then yeah, it's very effective and it's very good, because what's happening right now? No one is talking about, oh, the Russian army, they are taking such heavy losses. I don't know where, but you know, they come up with these things. And then, oh, the Russian army are so crap. Oh, the Russians are getting stuff from Iran. And right now, everybody's saying, oh my God, there's a coup in Russia. Oh, Prigozhin is gonna go and topple Putin. You know, because they want the drama. They want the drama. Unfortunately, that's the media, you know? And if they're misleading them, if this is really a psyop, well done. It's very successful, and it's very, very, very good. But look, my advice, if I'm not here to give advice, I'm here to report. But, you know, my point here is that take everything with a pinch of salt, right? Remain skeptical, and just try to analyze, as you know, George Bush would say, analyze the facts with nuclear. Seriously though, analyze the facts. You know, look at what we have. Look at you know, what David was saying earlier with, you know, the evidence. Is there a video of a single video of a tank or a column of tanks belonging to Wagner on their way to Russia? You know, there are people posting videos right now of normal military activity. What do I mean by this? You'll have people in Moscow or St. Petersburg or other places filming, you know, with their phone, like one truck, you know, or whizzing down the road, or you have 3 trucks coming and parking on the side of the road. What the hell does that mean? You know, do you understand the concept of moving around in space time? You know, you yourself, you move around in space time. the military is a very, well, hopefully in every country, a very, tightly run, or actually I'm not gonna say tightly run, but they depend on logistics. So you have to move stuff around the whole time. You got people coming and going, supplies coming and going, and on top of it, Russia is now, at war with NATO. I mean, has been for a long time, but obviously you're gonna have defenses erected around important places in Moscow. Do you guys remember when Biden had his inauguration? They were putting up these massive fences in Washington, D.C., and they kept them for quite a while, if I'm not mistaken. That was just an inauguration, not a war, but you still had the... actually, my favorite thing was when you had the American soldiers, protecting the Capitol and Washington, and you had people saying, oh my God, it looks like Iraq. Okay, first of all, the United States did not even exist when Iraq was the center of the world, and Iraq is a million times nicer. I mean, again, I'm not trying to put anybody down here, but the only reason Iraq that it looks like Iraq is because of your military invading Iraq illegally. The British Army as well, guilty of the same crime. So I find these statements so vulgar and just void of any sense. Not just nothing, airheads. In any case, my point is that it's normal to have trucks, being moved around, soldiers being moved around, whether it's in Moscow or St. Petersburg, or it's, now on the front lines. It doesn't make any difference. That doesn't mean that oh my God, they're preparing for Prigozhin to come with his column of 25,000 men. I don't understand how people, make these kind of connections, but just be careful of the videos you see. Apply a good dose of scrutiny and be critical, right? That's it. We got another super chat here. This is from Crazy Puppet. Crazy Puppet says, Richard, you are a legend. You just not intentionally mention additional purpose of this psyop. Well, I hope I covered all of it. I tried doing it all. But please let me know in the comments if you have any more of them. And Crazy Puppet says Z or Z for the children of Donbass. So, the funny thing is that now with Putin, what is the war crimes thing that they're bringing against him? The specific charge. They're saying it's not crime of aggression. It's mainly that he transferred kids out of Ukraine and into Russia, and the Russian position on that is that, well, they are, we're protecting them. I don't know if you can draw a comparison, but let's say something similar in have you guys ever read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? How does the book start? Narnia, maybe it's marketed as some other thing because of the movies. How does it start? You got 4 kids that are sent to the countryside, by their parents to keep them safe from Nazi bombing. So because that was during the Blitz, right? So it's just logical for the Russians in their point of view to do that. Let me just again repeat what I've said before. I don't understand how the hell you're charging Putin with a war crime, and you haven't even begun to charge Barack Obama, Donald Trump, David Cameron, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Blunkett. Right, these are people in Blair's cabinet. You had Blunkett, Jack Straw. Where the hell are these people? What about Donald Rumsfeld's dead? But and Colin Powell, they were left alone. I don't care about Putin. Putin is at the bottom of this list, right? Let's deal with actual war criminals that have done way more damage. Then maybe we can give the ICC some legitimacy. Now, keep in mind, the Americans are not even members of the ICC, but apparently, the American media, they suddenly care about it because Putin might be arrested. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. Netanyahu. Somebody mentioned Netanyahu. Yeah, let's deal with Netanyahu. Actually, the funny thing is they went ballistic because the ICC said they'll cover Palestine in their, they'll basically apply jurisdiction there. The Israelis went ballistic. So, yeah, they're not quite happy about that. I have some great news here. We've got Perry Rice, and John, and Mano, and Zach, who've all just joined on Patreon. Thank you guys very much. If you guys enjoy my work, consider donating on Patreon. Again, I don't want to nag you too much, but I got to do it. I need your support to do my work. It's $1 a month or $2 a month, £1 a month. Pick whatever currency, whatever thing you like. I'm happy because we get to play a crab dance now. So everybody, please give them a round of applause and let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen.
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
We got him.
I told myself, I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up. Disgusting!
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Again, I couldn't do this without your support, and I'll keep you guys updated. If you want more frequent updates, I have a Twitter. Here, let me put up the link on the screen. It's twitter.com/Richie Medhurst. That's RICHIMEDHURST. Here's the Twitter. There we go. So we're just about to hit 240,000 followers. So please make sure you go subscribe on Twitter. And if you're new to the channel, you've just teleported and manifested out of nowhere. So welcome to YouTube. And please make sure you subscribe. I appreciate it very much. By the way, those of you who are already subscribed, sometimes they unsubscribe you, so do check that out. Pradesh, thank you very much for the super chat. Pradesh says, hey, Richard, when it comes to these elites who kill massive amounts of innocent people and destroy everything, should we wish death on them, or is that sinful? Damn, that's a really good question. I mean, part of me, look, man, the thing is, the way that when you say wish death, you mean like just, you know, with your thoughts, right? Because look, the Nazis, you know, when we caught the Nazis, you know, well, some cowards like Hermann Goering, you know, committed suicide and so on, but the Nazis at Nuremberg, you know what happened, right? And that was correct. You know, I don't look at that as sinful or something like that, because these people committed, I mean, the term at the time, which is still used today, but it was a brand new term. They didn't commit war crimes. They committed crimes against humanity. Like, these are crimes that are so grave that, I mean, you know, it's from a religious point of view, from a human point of view, it's very, I think it's bad. But from a legal point of view, when you're dealing with criminals like you know, Goering or you know, Goebbels or George Bush, I see no difference between neoconservatives and Nazis. They're literally one and the same as far as I'm concerned. So I hope that answers that. But you know, I'm not. Yeah, that's it. That's it. But this is a great philosophical and legal question, right? Thanks very much, guys. I appreciate you tuning in, and thank you for supporting my work. Take care. Bye-bye.
The war didn't start in February last year.
Yeah.
The war started in 2014. And since 2014, NATO allies have provided support to Ukraine.
NATO was going to shoot Putin in the foot either fucking way. So, you know, he had no choice but to do XYZ, right? Going to Ukraine. Now, I don't know about the annexation, but you understand? Because the other side of the argument is that, you know, if you don't stand up to a bully, and NATO is a bully, they're going to keep pushing you around and taking more and more and more. And this is going to you have to understand this history begins in 2014, right? Putin did not wake up on February 24th, you know, last year and just fucking randomly decide to invade a country. I mean, I'm not saying that was the best decision, but there is history here, and a very, very big geopolitical battle right in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are, of course, the ones that suffer the most. You see this often, that you have these like Europeans lecturing Africans. You see the French doing it in Mali, in Chad, in Algeria, you know. Even today, I'm not talking about like back 100 years ago only. Even today, the West is so envious, and they're dying inside at the idea and at the prospect of China coming in and forging nice relations with Africa. Because the European mentality is, we're gonna fuck Africa, we're gonna plunder Africa, we're gonna rape Africa, enslave Africa. The Chinese don't have this sick, disgusting mentality when they deal with other people, and certainly not in Africa. You see? Try going to the UK as an Iraqi or a Syrian. Look how they will play games with you, with the pretending it's the bureaucracy. It's disgusting, the imbalance, you know? It's the Europeans who should be rolling out a red carpet for the people that they colonized and oppressed, not the other way around. Please ask yourself this question. Be honest with yourself. What do you think the United States would do if China was arming militias, or even the armed forces, the official armed forces of Cuba? Do you think they would just like sit there and watch this and do nothing? Now, I'm not saying it's like, oh, you have to go to war and war is the only solution. No. My point is that you are, instead of doing diplomacy, you are provoking and imperiling everybody's security. We're talking now about nuclear armed countries, and Russia's one of them, pitted against each other. What the fuck more do I have to say, or do people have to do for this generation, the people on this planet, to understand the gravity of the situation? In the 1960s, at least people grasped, oh shit, there might be nuclear war. I'm gonna build a bunker in my backyard. This stuff is serious. Now everyone's like, no, Ukraine, come on, it's for Ukraine. I love paying higher gas bills. Oh, I love it. Please exploit me. There was a trend towards normalization with Israel, right? Bahrain and the UAE normalized ties with Israel, and I told you myself, Saudi Arabia is next, and that was true. Saudi was going to be next, or one of the next, to establish ties with Israel. But that trend, after these fake Abraham Accords, is gone. Now, the trend is going in the opposite direction. It's the opposite. Instead of Saudi looking towards Israel, Saudi is looking towards Syria, Iran, Yemen. And trust me, the rest of the Middle East and the world will follow suit, right? Because the peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia has created the political landscape where things like this are possible. So once again, we are entering a new phase here. There's a new reality, a new political reality in the Middle East, and it's unfolding right before your eyes. It's serious and it's real, both on the diplomatic front, right, and on the battlefield.